Welcome to the Lead with Your Soul podcast. I'm Michelle Wright, your host and fellow traveler on this journey of self-discovery. This podcast is designed for women navigating life transitions and yearning to embrace their true selves. I'll be sharing my personal journey from navigating the complexities of divorce and blending families to reshaping my career to something that resonates with my soul. With 3 decades as a teacher and mentor, I'm here to share insights, heartfelt stories, and practical strategies. Together, we'll explore how to cultivate self-love and create the vibrant, fulfilling life you deserve. Join me each week as we dive deep into the art of living authentically. Welcome to the Lead with Your Soul podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Wright, coming to you from sunny Cromwell, New Zealand. We are a bit of a tromp around New Zealand and Australia over the next couple of months, so you're going to hear me from different locations. Today, I talk about life transitions. I wanted to dive a little bit into the blending of families that my husband and I have had the opportunity to experience over the last 14 years. And it seems I have found that there's a theme that can come in and patterns that can come in. For us, it was about blending families. So we have 3 different ways that we have been invited to grow, expand, and change through blending families. And the first one was when my husband and I got together. We knew quite quickly that we were a match, and I would even say a soul match. To this day, everything can be chaotic, and I just have to hang on to his hand, and I am settled. My energy just grounds into the earth, grounds into him, and he would say a similar thing about me. So definitely the soul match. When we got together, our kids were 15, 14, and 13. We weren't quite sure. Was it a good idea to move our teenagers? So we did some reading. We had a step coupling book. I'll put in the link below. This might be something you're interested in. And we also talked to some different people. There were 3 significant conversations. They talked about their parents' changing dynamics, either divorce or blending together. But they were saying they waited until the kids were over 18 and now on their own and now moving on to another part of their life. The most important thing they shared was that because the parents waited, their perception was they weren't invited in that parts of their parents' life. And that was not something that Jason and I wanted. We are both very close with our immediate families, with our parents. We wanted our kids to feel they had a place always in our lives and with us. So this is where we started to say, okay, if we're going to start blending, it needs to be with intention and planning. We know we love each other. And we came from very different backgrounds. Mine was a divorce, as you know from the previous story. It was 10 years from the time that my first husband and I separated to when I met Jason. And for Jason and his kids, it was a very different story. He had lost his wife to cancer 3.5 years before he met me. And so for his children, this transition that we were moving into was very scary for them because the only real change that they had had in their life was a very traumatic one in which they lost their mother. So coming together was important that we recognized this, was important that we talked about it, and that we talked with our kids. So we started right away having some family meetings and connecting and talking to them about how we wanted to move forward. Another important piece, me being an educator, is I know it's important you can get feedback. So in our family meetings, we had adult decisions and kids' decisions. Everybody always has a voice. Not everybody always has a vote. And that's an important distinction. So we made sure everybody always had a voice. That was important to us. We got married, came together, and moved into the house. For my kids, this was an easy transition. And so for them, they had lots of change. We moved out of our house and we moved into the new house.
And they were so excited. They didn't even need to go back. They're like, no, no, look at this. This house is so wonderful. And for my husband's kids, it was a bit more traumatic. They're coming in. It's very different, very challenging. As we came together, an important thing is to recognize that my husband and I are like yin and yang. So we have different skill sets. The day after we got married, in the morning, I'm crying. And my husband's like, this is supposed to be so beautiful. Why are you crying? And I'm like, I suck at marriage. And he's like, don't worry, Michelle. I've got you. I've got us. I'm good at marriage. And I, working with kids, working in the field of education, and at that time, the principal of a middle school, I worked with teenagers. I was okay and very comfortable working with teenagers. So we brought these skill sets in with us and setting up our conversations, setting up how we were going to work together with the kids. And that was critical. Another piece about our intention and planning was recognizing that us as a couple, it was essential that we guarded that. And what I mean by that is that we were very intentional setting up experiences to build our family stories and ensuring that our marriage stayed strong. So these two things look like. We did some research, and in that book, the Step Coupling book, you have lots of conversations about parenting, about finances, about retiring, about traveling, all the different things you can imagine. And all of it was set without judgment, but recognizing that you could have different perspectives. So how can you come together with different perspectives? This same intention, this same mindset was critical in coming together with kids. We were two separate families with a separate way that we communicated, very different ways that we went through our daily lives. And we had to find a way to meet in the middle without judgment. Jason and I made sure that as a couple, we had regular date nights. And in this book, it said, it's important during these challenging times that you remember why you met, that you remember why you fell in love with this person. We made sure we focused on the long term and why he and I were together. And then we intentionally focused with our kids. 3 ways that we made sure to create shared story was in some of the experiences we chose. We sold our houses, and when we came together, so we had some extra money, and we went on a trip for 1 month to Europe. This was essential for us in developing our family. It's at this time, the kids out of their regular rooms, out of their friend sets, we were together as a family, creating this unified story, this unified history. As they chose which beds to sleep in, who got the good beds, who got this bed, I would have chosen like let's go through, cycle through on a schedule. Their choice has always been rock, paper, scissors. They choose dishes, cleanup, chores, whatever they're going to do through rock, paper, scissors. Roll ahead 14 years. Just before we came on this trip, we had our 4 children with their partners, so the 10 of us together. Similar things happen. My husband and I cook the meal, and the kids then clean up. And with their partners, they're doing rock, paper, scissors. We just sat on the couch in our living room, and I had tears coming down my cheek because I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this is the family that we created. This is their story. This is their legacy. And these are their people. And we did this together. And it's just so exciting and heartwarming. So that trip to Europe and starting to build that shared way of communicating and decision-making started us on the journey. Another journey that we took was we went camping. We did the West Coast Trail. If you're not sure, you go on to Vancouver Island. It is a 76-kilometer hike. The kids themselves thought it was the best ever. It is the first time that any of us had done camping in the backcountry. We had never done that before, so We spent that summer doing a lot of dehydrating, getting the food ready for our 4 teenagers that were hungry. I was glad to do that because these 4 teenagers carried a lot of our pack weight the entire way through. And we had people saying, "Do you rent out these teenagers?" So it was just an amazing story. And the kids even say that that experience was so unique and different. There was a lot of autonomy for them on the trail in the sense of there's only one kind of way you can go. My husband and I would get up, get them up, but teenagers slow moving in the morning. So we would start going along. An hour later, they would pass us and they had our gear in our tent and we would meet them at the end of the day. They had the tent set up, the water pumped. It was amazing. And the kids really enjoyed that, as did we. It was an amazing story. I did at one point say, I think I am going to die as I'm coming down the first ladder that's 50 stories down with a pack on my back, and I'm terrified. But I did realize I would have to figure out a way to deal with heights and my fear of these ladders. And I did, which is very similar to any part of blending and changing and going through transition. What is your intention? What are you going to set your mind on? What is your goal? And the last way today that I'm going to talk about that we made sure as a family we came together is parachuting. I had wanted to parachute with my boys when they were 16, and our youngest said to us, he said, "You guys have to wait till I'm 16. So the weekend he turned 16, we all went parachuting. It was so interesting because the kids were all game. My husband was a bit terrified, and we had to convince him and make sure that he was safe. But it is these intentional ways of coming together, this intentional way of saying to our children, we are building family. We are building family stories. This is who we are, that set the stage, that set the discussions, that set the intention, that we are messy people coming together, and we want to build a family based on love, acceptance, and traditions that will last a lifetime. Just like the families that we come from, we're building this new one with each one of us. It has been an extremely difficult journey. When I look back, those first 2 years were some of the hardest years I've had in my life. And I look now to just a month ago, like anything that is that difficult, it brings you the deepest joy because it was hard won. And it now has such a special place in my heart when we see what we've built for our kids and they themselves are able to articulate that because we choose love. We choose to be a family and we choose to come together. And as I said in the beginning, there seems to be patterns. Well, there was a pattern for us of blending families. So 2 years in, we were blending. And in February, my husband gets a call on his business phone. He owns a business. On this call, we have this voice of this man saying, "Jason, I think I'm your son. This is how you can get a hold of me." We start our second version of blending. So when Jason was 20 years old, he and his girlfriend at that time had gotten pregnant and decided that they would not keep this child. And so this little baby was adopted by 2 loving parents that absolutely loved and adored him. He was the center of their lives. And he was just reaching out of curiosity. And they were okay with that. They were supportive. Even to this day, we come together. He now has a child himself. Just before we came on this trip in January, we went out to his house. What this blending looks like is we stay at his adoptive mother's house. And we are with his adoptive parents, sitting with them, having dinner with them, going out to events with them, as we surround him, his wife, and his little baby, blending, setting the intention of acceptance, setting the attention of love, and recognizing that we're messy people coming together and we're going to find a way to bring the best of who we are and find the way to look for the best of who they are. It has been so rewarding and so beautiful. And that second point of blending when we met Jason's son was just an echo of our third blending. Because our third blending happened about 4 years now into our blending story. Our son came into the house, and I remember the night because I remember waking from a dead sleep, and he is standing silently at my door. And you know how as a mom you can just hear it, you can just feel it? From a dead sleep, I woke up and I said, "What's wrong, honey?" And he's like, "Mom, I have to talk to you." Here is this young fellow. He's about to enter grade 12, his last year of high school. And he had dated his girlfriend for a month. They were no longer together. And she was pregnant. She was keeping this baby. And he was not certain how to move forward, what this looked like. And neither was I. Didn't know. We had some echoes of what it looked like with Jason. And we started moving forward. It was an interesting blending, and this time it's different. They decide as the grandparents to raise this grandchild. They're young enough that he fits right in because their youngest daughter is 5 when he is born. And they also make a choice that everyone will be who they are, meaning they are Nana and Papa, we are Grandma and Grandpa, our son is Dad, their daughter is Mom, the aunties are aunties, the uncles are uncles, everybody is who we are. This blending, you can imagine how terrified we were. Talk about setting the intention of coming in, knowing that we can be messy. And Nana, on the other side, said the most profound words that I knew we were going to come together really well. She said, "This little baby is innocent and deserves all of our love. We're going to choose to love." And I said, "Girl, you are my person." And we have chosen to love. We've chosen, the other girls are our granddaughters. I actually was a principal in their school. We've come together. We've gone on holidays together. We do things together. We have blended our families. What can you take from these stories? What does this mean in your own life? First of all, I need you to recognize that having an intention and having a plan comes first with that ember of hope. Hope for what you want to call in for this experience. The second thing you need to do is recognize that you're messy. Recognize that you're going to have moments where you're absolutely spectacular and moments where you're spectacularly horrible. You need to take each moment and learn to love yourself, have compassion for yourself, and forgive yourself and celebrate yourself in all of those moments. Making sure that you have this self-love is essential to have this cup overflow so that you can overflow into the cup of others. Another piece is connection, being open to connection, being open to taking a beat before you respond, taking a beat to recognize that that same self-compassion, self-forgiveness needs to be given for everybody else. They're doing the best they can. Our hope is always that we have created a loving family and that we have loving moments and that we are here for each other, no matter what is happening in our lives. And we do that. Sometimes it's great moments, sometimes it's sucky moments, but we're there for each other. And we continue to blend and meet everybody exactly where they're at. What is it that they need today? How is it that we can come together? We set the intention of love. We set the intention of joy. We set the intention of a strong foundation of coming together as a family. None of this is easy. None of this happens in a heartbeat. Wherever you find the resistance, wherever you find the difficulty, I found that's when I really needed to lean in and take some time and reflection for myself, because why am I being triggered by this? Why is my response coming out in this way? So I had to really do a lot of healing for myself and figuring out why, how come? Because if I'm setting this intention and it's not happening, how can I then have it happen in a more positive way? And it's also learning how to speak your own truth. So I speak my truth. I speak what I need. I speak what I'm feeling. I also speak words of sorry and forgiveness and having that communication. And I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is to be curious about what's going to happen. I never thought any of this was going to happen. I never thought that my journey was learning how to blend families and learning how to choose love and build layers of love with different people in different relationships, and being okay to meet them where they're at and loosen my own personal expectations. I never knew that was going to be my journey. And I always need to stay curious about that, because the truth of the matter is, if you do have children or you have siblings, we're always blending. As we bring new people into our families, we're actually always blending our families. So whether this is your blending story or you're blending in a different way, we're always blending. And we're always bringing new people in. And it is such an opportunity for you to grow in love and joy and robust relationships. I hope from this story that you can take little bits and pieces for yourself, that you can see hope, that you can see some wisdom. Let me know about your own stories and where you're at, your challenges, your celebrations, things that have gone well and things that have made you curious. Until next time, keep leading with your soul.
That wraps up another episode of the Lead with Your Soul podcast. I'm so grateful you chose to spend this time with me. As you navigate your own life transitions, remember to be gentle with yourself and embrace the journey. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe and share it with others who might benefit. Join me next week for more insights and inspiration. Until next time, keep leading with your soul.